Hello everyone, welcome to the Buzz the Prey Manga. Today we continue the latest Global Freeze chapter, rewritten and edited by me in English for a smooth reading experience. All visuals and story flow are personally edited to give you the best manga style storytelling. Support the original creator by checking the official manga. So let's dive right into the today's chapter.
Chapter 2637 Half-Finished Product 1. It's not surprising that water can extinguish flames. But to let the raging flames be extinguished out of thin air is clearly abnormal. Looking at the black and white world around her, Yang Xinshin immediately got the answer she needed. A queen-level powerhouse can actually do this? It's truly terrifying. He created this world himself. Even the rules here were set by him. These words shocked Zhang Yi and the others. Yang Xinshin's meaning is clear. The rules of this world are all controlled by Adam. According to the preconditions of the rule system, the impact of her meme arrow on this world will also be withdrawn by Adam. Go to heaven. Adam smiled and looked at Yang Xinshin, his eyes showing great interest. I never imagined that people from Earth would be so interesting. I will make you all my puppets, forever following my right. In the realm of the two poles, in the name of the Creator, a completely new world is created. In this world, Adam is God. He can rule over everything. This is the power of an empress. The further a being develops, the closer they get to the origin of ether. That is the amount of ether that can influence the existence of the entire material world. Zhang Yi gripped his sword and spoke in a solemn tone. Luke Heron called upon the Flying Raven Legion, but as soon as those sophisticated machines entered the polar region, they were easily deconstructed by black and white particles, dismantling the components and then the particles, ultimately becoming Adam's material library. All the attacks seemed to be merely supplementing his world. Zhang Yi attempted to fold space using the realm of no form, but the space itself here is an extension of Adam. As soon as he twisted his trajectory, the black and white particles rewrote the folding path and bounced his displacement back. The barrier of the mind stands still. Like a symphony from heaven, it resonates throughout the world. Adam stood at the heart of the particle tide, like a god. Black and white cube-shaped microparticles dance like a storm and can be arbitrarily separated and combined. How long can your energy sustain us? He gently raised his hand, pointing it at Zhang Yi as if teasing an insect. In an instant, a large number of huge black and white cubes, spinning and crashing towards Zhang Yi from afar, roared. Those are the fundamental particles of this world, containing immense energy. Once struck, the body will be assimilated into the smallest particles. Zhang Yi raised the great sword in his hand. Grand burial in the underworld.
Boom.
A massive dark vortex appeared behind him, and the river of the netherworld flowed and roared forward as the sword was swung. Withstanding two cube-shaped impacts, the Taishu bathrobe suddenly tightened, forcibly absorbing 2/3 of the destructive energy. The remaining third slammed into the Termination Demon God armor, instantly shattering large swathes of alloy on the armor's surface into dust. The self-healing system immediately activates, and new metal crawls from the crack to mend it, but the speed is far slower than the damage. If this continues, they will eventually be worn down little by little. Even worse, Adam's third power began to emerge in this world. Heaven's Sonata. His body suddenly dissipated like smoke, transforming into countless tiny particles that merged into the bipolar realm. Zhang Yi seized the brief opportunity presented by the sword light and forcefully shattered Adam's upper body, only to scatter more particles, which then reformed into a complete human form in the blink of an eye. Destruction lags behind heavy burdens. As long as the two polar regions still exist, the fundamental particles of ether and matter are his musical score, and he can write another self on this score at any time. The sample quality is good. Adam's voice rang out simultaneously from each particle, calm and satisfied, sufficient to support a complete multi-round test. The only downside is that the quantity is a bit small. Perhaps I should leave this world and go see Earth, the center of the universe. The Taishu bathrobe still stubbornly held on, forming a gap around Zhang Yi that prevented it from collapsing, connecting the netherworld and the dark side of this universe. However, he could already see clearly that in this round, all of them combined would be crushed. It's simply unrealistic for him to defeat Adam here, given his current level of skill. Zhang Yi had long known this would be the outcome, but he remained calm. The battery should be almost fully charged, so in the next instant, he unhesitatingly offered up his trump card. A rift in the netherworld quietly opened before him. A familiar human figure slowly emerged from the darkness. Ling's human form. It was the appearance of a refined and quiet woman with slightly wavy black hair, drooping eyelashes, and a silver battle suit draped over her body. There were no superfluous decorations around her, but she possessed a simplicity that was incompatible with all civilizations. At this moment, her body was still. The highly condensed energy that Eve gave to Ling was extracted by Zhang Yi without reservation, turning into streams of light that were poured into Ling's human body's central nervous system without reservation. All that previous delay was preparation for doing this. Theoretically speaking, if enough energy could be injected into Ling's body, she could even approach her peak Omega-level combat prowess. Of course, this is only theoretical. Realistically speaking, that would probably require gathering all the resources from several star systems to do. But for now, it seems enough that she can fight Adam alone. The energy extracted from the depths of the Heavenly Tower is the closest fragment to the primordial flame. The moment Ling appeared, her eyes snapped open, and an astonishing aura erupted from her body. Zhang Yi and the others blocked her from behind, and then returned the Eternal Judgment Sword to her. Hundreds of huge black and white cubes came crashing down, but as she raised her hand and swung her sword, they all shattered into the smallest particles. "My bestie, I'm counting on you," Zhang Yi said, hiding behind Ling. Zhang Yi only relied on three things to get by: steady, shameless, relying on powerful connections. If it weren't for Ling with him, how would he dare to venture into this unknown inner world? Adam's consciousness quickly locked onto Ling, and a sudden burst of excitement flashed in his eyes. A superintelligent body. A perfect superintelligent body. A man-made shell, yet it possesses the capabilities of a man-made object, even capable of creating cells? This is the perfect human I wanted to create. I want you too. Ling's eyelashes trembled slightly, and her eyes were filled with an extremely clear and lucid gaze. She looked down at her own hand, her fingertips gently bending and stretching, as if confirming the long-lost weight. So noisy. Ling looked up at the boundless sea of black and white particles in the polar regions, and then at Adam standing in the middle of that sea. A pathetic half-baked product trying to become God. Chapter 2638 Half-Finished Product 2. Ling looked at Adam and gave her comments calmly. Clearly, the evaluation is not very high. There was nothing they could do. After all, she was the pinnacle of the Ihen race's technology, possibly the most powerful life form in the entire universe. You, Adam tilted his head slightly, a highly authorized individual outside the target civilization. Very good, the sample value has increased. He raised his head, and hundreds of giant black and white cubes simultaneously formed around Ling, pressing down on her coordinates of existence. Ling only lifts the Judgment of Eternity sword, a large sword that extends to a length commensurate with her size. There are no exaggerated lighting effects, no complicated patterns, just a sword with lines that are pleasing to the eye to the extreme. She waved it casually. The sword's edge sliced through. There was no bright light, no loud noise. Where she swung her sword, all the rushing cubes silently disintegrated, directly traced back from the structural layer to the original particles, then from the particles to the more primal energy pulses, and finally, following the trajectory of the sword's edge, were gathered together by her in one breath. Zhang Yi led his men to escape to a distance and obediently hid behind Ling. Upon seeing this scene, he couldn't help but gasp. Is this really Dorio's true strength? During the war against the Alawada Empire, Ling was only infused with a very small amount of energy, so at that time, Zhang Yi still had to pilot her into battle. At that time, He was completely unable to mobilize Ling's own energy. Now, having possessed some fragments of ether and been infused with a large amount of energy, she has finally revealed a portion of the power belonging to the Sword Knight.
Tiyuan.
She doesn't manipulate any element, nor does she superimpose any energy. Instead, she stands beneath everything, defining what exists and what constitutes. Adam's two-pronged domain was nothing more than a blueprint ruined by graffiti in her eyes. Analysis of the origin of is complete. Ling said calmly, "The structure of your world is far too naive. It will crumble at the slightest touch." This isn't sarcasm. It's simply stating a fact, the fact as she sees it. For the first time, emotion appeared in Adam's eyes. That moment of solemnity. You are nothing but a shell, not the original true self. Stop spouting nonsense to me. The heavenly sonata was activated, and his form once again disintegrated into countless particles, attempting to reconstruct from the other end and avoid Ling's sword's domain. Ling's eyebrows furrowed slightly. These were the words she hated hearing most. Who is the original entity, and who is the vassal? She was unwilling to admit that she was merely an empty shell, possessing only Ling's memories. As Zhang Yi said, anyone with the ability to think for themselves, even a robot, would not admit that they are fake. Especially someone like Ling, she was even more unwilling to admit that she was inferior to the true spirit of that ascended etheric world. So, she decided to prove her strength to this rude guy in front of her. Ling took a step. She didn't care where he was because every single particle of his existence, every piece of information, was under the scrutiny of origin. The sword light fell, as if drawing the first definition in the darkness of the beginning of the universe. Adam's newly formed half-body was directly blasted back into a particle state. The particles attempting to reassemble were forcibly stripped of their authorization and suspended in the air, as if a pause button had been pressed. You are imitating the creator. Ling looked at him. But you don't have that ability. You're not even a real life. So, how can you understand the creator? Her attack method seemed very simple. As long as the sword blade sliced through the space, all energy was deconstructed. So simple and unadorned. It's almost like Liang Yu practicing her knife skills at home. There are no amazing energy fluctuations, but it truly represents a return to simplicity. Grand Unified Field Theory. Zhang Yi stared intently at the battle, because he would gain a great deal from watching a fight of this level. Uncle Yu and the others held their breath, not daring to blink, for fear of missing any crucial step. Ling's ability is the origin of the origin. The source of all energy in the universe, ether, longing. Regardless of the type of power or special ability, the ultimate source of power is the same. Therefore, the ultimate ability is the simplest. Mammon's void devouring, Samuel's netherworld. The energy belonging to Ling, the origin energy, is the purest and also the most powerful for killing. Or it could be described as, all phenomena are empty. She can transform everything into its most primal form. Anything that can be transformed into energy can be shattered with a single sword strike. This is why she is the leader of the Four Knights, and in the past billions of years, she was able to single-handedly bring the Drucker race to collapse. She has killed and sealed away countless times the 7 demon kings of ancient times. Adam shouted in a low, stern voice, causing the polar regions to tremble violently. Countless black and white particles frantically converged, forming an unprecedentedly massive geometric structure, like a black and white interwoven starry maze, intending to cripple Ling's control over the origin through structural complexity. His energy level is not much different from Ling's now, but the difference in his understanding of energy is really too great. Ling simply turned her wrist slightly. The sword left a faint trail of light. All logical nodes inside the maze have been exposed. The fundamental formula supporting the Sonata of Paradise was being peeled away like silk threads under the sword's light, breaking off section by section, and Adam's rebirth began to show its first signs of stagnation. Zhang Yi watched from a distance, feeling a chill run down his spine. That was a battle he had never seen before. There were no earth-shattering explosions, no torrents of energy, only the silent rewriting of the world's foundations with each strike of Ling's sword. Even so, both Adam's abilities and Ling's abilities provided Zhang Yi with great inspiration. So this is what higher-level battles are like. He felt somewhat ashamed. In the past, I thought I was invincible because I possessed the power of time and space and the netherworld. But now he realizes that he was like a frog in a well. Ling lightly scratched cracks into the barrier of Adam's heart, causing large areas of the polar realms to collapse. The sonata of heaven was reversed, and the score needed for rebirth was erased one by one. In the end, the human form he reconstituted was reduced to a semi-transparent outline. Adam stared at Ling. This body is incomplete. Its powers are incomplete, yet it can still draw upon the primordial chaos to this extent. So you should shut up and obediently accept your fate of destruction, Ling said calmly. The sword light fell once more. Adam exploded into countless tiny quantum dust particles, but just before he was completely reduced to zero, he forcibly severed most of his connection with this domain, and the remaining part escaped by taking advantage of the momentum. Here we end today's chapter. I hope you liked it. Kindly do also subscribe to my gaming channel. I have to Fina a way to survive. Thanks.
Alright, that's it for today's chapter. Tell me in the comments which part you enjoyed the most. If you love manga style stories, don't forget to like the video and subscribe the Buzz Play Manga. See you in the next chapter with more surprises.